Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Sally Jack's TV mom and welcome to my home actually. I'm sat at home in the conservatory. Just poured myself a cup of tea and it's blooming cold. My channel is for, and oh, if you're here then please don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, but also as well hit that bell notification. It'll just let you know any other vlogs that I'm uploading. I try and upload every other night. If I've got a big event like I've just been to Disney, then it's every single night because I try and get all those vlogs out. But if you've been watching the Disney, unfortunately you've been spammed to death with them. But this particular video, I wanted to, so my YouTube channel is all about sort of the good, the bad and the ugly, as I always say, and I wanted to talk about mental health. Because that's as soon as you mention that word, if you do suffer with mental health, you're like, great, yes, we're talking about it. But then other people tend to sort of scurry off as if it's like, you know, going under a rock, because a lot of people don't like to talk about it. And I totally get that because I was one of those people. So I've had, if you want to call it mental health issues, since I've had my son, Frankie Jack. And they've been absolutely dreadful. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this now is because I am better. So I don't have any mental health issues now, but I have had them. And I've had them, as far as I can see, severe for me. Now, that might be a different severity for what you are. But what I will tell you is that my mental state was all down to my low iron deficiency. That's what made me ill. So what I want to do is, one, talk about my mental health problems, because that allows me to be open with you. So sorry, it helped me, myself and I, talk about what I went through. Secondly, I'm hoping that it builds awareness so people are more forthcoming and talk about their mental health. And obviously I'm going to go through if you want to or not, because I was a person that didn't want to talk about it. But the third thing is also to get yourself checked for iron deficiency. So I'm going to try and cover all of that through this vlog that I'm going to do for you today. So first of all, let's just cover mental health as a section in itself, and a lot of people are suffering with mental health these days. Now, we've got a campaign, my friend and I, Carrie and I, that we're trying to build more awareness about mental health, through, I mean, not just mental health, there's other issues as well, but mental health issues with iron deficiency and also B12 deficiency. B12 can lead to pernicious anemia. Anemia is the end line of low iron deficiency, so it's kind of all linked. You can also get sort of anemic through folate, and you can also feel very down through vitamin D deficiency as well, and all of those things are linked. In the description below, I'm going to give you what you want to get tested for at the doctors, and it'll all be in the description below, and I'll go through that in a moment with you. But first of all, my mental health was, ever since I had my child Frankie Jack, hey, what do they slap on it? They slap on the title postnatal depression or postnatal anxiety. And actually what was written in my notes at the doctor's was postnatal anxiety. And oh my word, to start off with, my mum noticed a difference in my behaviour. My husband noticed a difference in my behaviour, but the difference was my husband didn't want to admit to it, but my mum said, you have got a problem. I was irritable, more snappy, but of course you go to the doctors and they say, oh, well, you've worked hard, you've had a child, you've got sleepless nights, which of course is going to happen. You know, that sleepless night is going to make you not as switched on and not as focused as what you once were, and probably more snappy, because that's what lack of sleep does to you. Lack of sleep is a form of torture. But mine was more than that. And what happened was, is over 4.5 years, it took a dive. So it was like a long but not so steep slide, if that makes sense. So it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I remember, so this video, as you can see below, is recorded on October the 4th, 2019. But I remember in September of last year, a very, very good friend of mine who's been living in Canada for years coming over to this country, and I just couldn't I was struggling just to get myself out of the house. And this is a friend that I was so dying to see, but I was struggling because I was fighting with this inner stress and this inner torture within my head. And it was absolutely awful. It felt like somebody was strangling me around the neck, or I had like butterflies in the neck, and I felt sick. I couldn't eat anything. It was dreadful, getting in floods of tears. Now this was happening. That was the worst state I'd ever got in, but that anxiety was on a regular basis, and I was trying to have to fight it. And the worst thing is, obviously my name's Sally Jack's TV mum. That's because my name's Sally Jacks. I'm a mum, but I also work in television, excuse me, and I work as a TV presenter and also a radio presenter, but more in TV these days. And one of the things that I was doing was having panic attacks on live television, and this was awful. And what was happening is the director, you have an earpiece either ear, you can wear it in either ear, a talkback unit it's called, and that's how the producer talks to you on how the show is going to be mapped out and what you're going to do and where you're going to stand, and the director talks to you about what camera you're looking in. And I remember the director counting in my ear 10, 9, 8, because we're going live, and that's when my panic attacks would start to happen, and they were dreadful. It felt like I was going to combust. It felt like I got very breathless. I would become, because I was breathless anyway with iron deficiency, which I'll come to in a moment if I can try and remember to cover all these areas. But basically I would become, it would take over me, almost like I was going to self-combust, and I was just going to burst into flames. My head would start to soar. It was dreadful. Now ask me how I dealt with it, and I can't even tell you. I don't know how I did it, but I got myself together and I carried on with the show, and I never ever spoke about it, not up until sort of this year. And the reason being is because I know that everybody says, oh, let's talk about mental health, but I'm a freelancer in a TV land, okay, and in a radio land. A freelancer is self-employed, so you get picked up, and I suppose you're only as good as your last job, if that makes sense. And I was so frightened that if I was contracted, then that's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? You know, you talk to HR, you might have a little bit of time off and blah, 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 and you get paid for that sickness and blah, blah, blah. Not that I would ever do that, because I've always been one of those that I'd always try and power on through. However, and I understand that people do take that time off, so I've got nothing against that. But what my problem was is that, one, if I started saying that I had mental health issues, there was no contract in place. Now, I'm not saying my employer would have done that. I'm not saying that at all. But what if they had have done? Because I don't know. I've not put myself in that situation. I was so frightened of not being able to get work. So, of course, one, I didn't say it because, of course, why would you hire somebody that's mentally ill that might self-combust on television? Why would you do that? You wouldn't, would you? So that was why I never spoke out about it. And secondly, of course, obviously, if I was took any time off, because the doctor was like, well, take time off, I can sign you off. Sign who off? Sign where off? I'm self-employed. I can't take any time off. If I take time off, then I can't pay my bills, and therefore I get myself even in a more stress situation, even more anxiety, because I'm not paying my bills. So there's a couple of things of why I never did it and never spoke about it. And the only people that I spoke about was my husband and my mum. Now, I was put on a drug called Sertraline. Don't know whether anybody's heard about it. It's been in the papers recently because sadly 2 people have actually passed away on that drug this year. It's been in the news recently, and they're actually saying that they can't work out how many suicides have been on it, because they don't know whether the suicides are because of the drug or because of the state of mind the person's in, if that makes sense. Now, I don't want that to scare you, because if you are on it, you don't come off it. You don't come off it if you're not in the right state of mind. And obviously you don't come off it quickly. I weaned myself off it, not with the help of my doctor, because my doctor, even though I've written to them 4 times, still haven't acknowledged to me that obviously I had an iron problem, and still haven't acknowledged that I've taken myself off all my drugs, even though I've let them know, which I'm very, very sad about. And I hope one day they'll come forward to me and talk to me about it. But I've weaned myself off. I was on 200 milligram of Sertraline. Now, I know plenty of people that are on it now, and maybe citalopram, and this really did work for me at the time. It did help, apart from last September when I got to a really bad state. It wasn't helping then, and I was still on 200 milligram, but it helped me. So if it helps you, it's great. But what I know, and I am not a doctor, so I can't tell you for sure, but what I know, excuse me, is that sertraline, or an antidepressant, is there to help your, so basically you've got your serotonin, which is your happy hormone, and then you've got your homocysteine, and your homocysteine comes over and squashes your serotonin, whereas you need that serotonin to rise. So what the sertraline or citalopram does is it comes and it squashes that homocysteine, or decreases it, and increases your serotonin, which is fabulous. But you haven't sorted the root of the problem. So it's like, for me, it's like having a scar on your arm, or a bruise or a mark on your arm, and just putting a plaster over it and keeping a plaster on it every day. You're never ever going to sort what that causes, because you need to get to the root of the problem. Now, this won't be for everybody, and I totally understand that. So if you have got any mental health issues like I have had, then I can't put this purely down. I can only tell you my own experience. So don't take this, that this is your problem, this is where it's at, and this is what you've got to do, because I do not know. I don't know your situation, I don't know your family history, and of course I'm not a doctor. But what I can do is try and help you in the line of what I did. So I went and got my iron checked, purely and simply because a friend of mine came over. She read through my bloods and said, Sally, that ferritin, which is your iron storage, I didn't even know what ferritin was as far as I was concerned. It was what your dog did. Your dog was ferritin. And she said, that ferritin level is not right. She said, but I can't tell you anything else. She said, but I just know that ferritin level is low. So I went to my GPs. No, there's nothing wrong with your ferritin. It's in the guidelines of the NHS. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't Google your friend's wrong. I'm like, no. I have Googled, and it's on the NHS, and my massive list of problems that I came to you in, I think it was June, July, August, September of last year, are all low iron deficiency. It's all there. I'm like a mirror image. There's got to be something wrong. So I wouldn't leave that room until they put me on some iron supplementation. And it was then on that I went on the rampage, or whatever you want to call it, to try and find what was wrong with me, because I knew there was something in this. And that's how it all came about for me. That's how I ended up stumbling on Professor Toby Richards, who is the leading iron expert in the world. And he owns the Iron Clinic, of course, on Harley Street. I think they've got 4 actually, where they can give you iron infusions. That's when I went for an iron infusion in February. So my iron infusion, I haven't had an anxiety attack, I haven't had a panic attack, I don't feel low, I feel good about myself, I've lost weight. An indirect link to iron deficiency is weight gain. That's indirect link, because it makes you shattered, so it makes you go for food a bit more, gives you a sugar addiction, because of course you're going for more sugary foods. Once you're hooked on high sugar diet, that's what your body wants to stay on. So it kind of becomes a vicious circle. And what I would tell you to do today, now, I cannot guarantee that this is what's going to be the problem, but I want you to go and get your iron checked. So I want you to get your ferritin, your transferritin saturation, your serum iron, your B12, your folate, and your vitamin D checked. And I want you to send them to the Iron Clinic for them to have a look at. It's a lovely woman called Dr. Caitlin Scott. And if you see, I'll post below this in the description. I'll leave you some links to the interviews that I did. One with Paul Ross on Talk Radio, and I've also done a BBC interview. I've got lots more in the pipeline coming up. I want you to go and hear what she has to say, and you can email her direct. So go and have a blood test. It's free to do at the doctor's. Don't tell them what I'm doing. Give them your symptoms. What's wrong with you? What's your problems? I'm going to do another vlog, because obviously this is taking up far too much of your time already, and thank you very much for watching. But what I want to also do is do a vlog on what are those iron deficiency symptoms. So I'm going to go through all of that with you. But what I will tell you is iron deficiency and B12 deficiency and vitamin D deficiency and folate deficiency. But of course with me, it was iron deficiency can mess with your mental health. Baby brain or brain fog has definitely just been linked to iron deficiency in Copenhagen. And at this very moment in time, a clinical study is being done on linking postnatal depression and postnatal anxiety to iron deficiency, because the baby strips you of iron, the birth strips you of the iron, and then if you breastfeed, you're stripped of iron. So if you're already stripped of iron before you even go into pregnancy, then there's no hope. And this is why those guidelines need to be changed and need to be shortened and not be so wide, because people need to be at the optimum level. So let me tell you what your level should be for ferritin. 15 to 30, if you're 0 to 15, sorry, you have nothing. If you're 15 to 30, you are bordering, well, obviously the lower end, severely deficient. 30 to 50, you are deficient. Anything above 50, if you are not symptomatic, then you can cope with being that way. So it might be a friend of yours goes and has hers checked and she's 60, and not 60 years of age, but 60 on the ferritin scale, then she could be fine and she could quite happily carry on like that, and that's fine, and you leave them be and you wouldn't give anything to them. But if you have something like hair loss, which I did, and hair thinning, you cannot have hair growth back unless your ferritin is 80 or above. Your optimum level, so this is different, your optimum level to be not symptomatic at all needs to be 100 plus. Now this is where you cannot go from what the NHS say. You need to send it to the iron clinic. Professor Toby Richards runs this. He's a professor of cardiovascular surgery for the NHS. I think he's actually in Perth at the moment. But he runs that clinic, and all those people are PhD doctors. They all know about the health and what iron and where it should be, and about well women as well. And so what I do is I urge you to go and get yourself tested at your GPs, and if they won't give you the bloods, then by the GDPR guidelines, it is illegal for them to keep them from you. Some doctors may charge, but if you just state that to them, if they're being difficult, they should give you everything that's got your name on, should be handed over to you. Therefore, you can then go and give them to Dr. Caitlin Scott. I hope that's helped. By no means am I saying in this vlog that I'm going to be able to sort out your mental health if you have any issues. I can only tell you what I've been through, and what I can give you is the information that I've got to try and raise awareness for you to go and get checked out. But the scary stat is 1 in 3 women within their lifetime will suffer with some form of iron deficiency. And if you are iron deficient, it can mess with your head just like it did with me. So please, just go and get yourself checked. Go and get that, because mental health has grown rapidly. And what I want to try and do is help and try and eliminate those areas of such as it's like a mineral within the body that can be sorted to help mental health issues. Let's sort that. Let's rule that out completely. Let's have those levels at the right place on the NHS, so then we can rule that out, and that can be ruled out and mental health can be looked at. Because how many hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of trillions of people might be suffering with mental health issues because they're iron deficient, and doctors aren't picking up on it because the NHS levels are not incorrect, but are too wide. See what I'm talking about? Anyway, I hope that helps in some way and you can rule that out. And if it is it, and it does sort it, or it makes it better, then I'm so glad that I did this vlog for you. So please just go and get yourself checked and make sure you are a-okay and are swinging from the ceilings like me. I feel so much better. I could cry, but I'm not going to, because I weep in too many of these vlogs. Here I go again. I feel so much better, and all I want to do is spread that awareness, and hopefully, if it's you that's suffering the same as me, to stop that suffering. I love you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being part of it. And the best thing that you can do right now, please, is share this vlog, because this could help so many people. I've just laid myself bare, letting people know that I did have a mental health problem. I was anxious. I did suffer with panic attacks, and I was very low. I don't know whether I would come under depressed, but I was low, and I want anybody that's in the same situation as me to hopefully get that help. And this could possibly be what is wrong. So please go and get yourself checked. or help others. So please share. And I would love to have you on board with the YouTube family. It's the good, the bad and the ugly. So it's not all serious stuff like this. There's also lovely little fluffy stuff in there. Family, Frankie Jack, and giveaways, etc. So be part of the family. Press that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell notification as well. Love you lots, and I'll see you soon.